Okay, Biff, I just want to make sure I've got everything straight. You were born in India, okay? Your birth mother was Canadian. The family that adopted you was American.
Yes.
And the family then moved all to Canada. Do you want to fill in all the
Correct.
dots in between? Because that's a real convoluted early year for you.
It's weird, but at the same time, so my biological mother, her parents were working in India at the time, and they had 3 kids that were teenagers and rambunctious kids. And of course, my birth mom, a beautiful young lady in high school, much like I would be when I was in high school. Very agreeable personality, very friendly, stunning girl. And not that I am, but she certainly was.
Oh,
and she got knocked. Basically, she got knocked up.
Okay,
and
it
her
happens.
parents kind of. My father was working as a dentist, doing all the missionaries.
This is the father that adopted you?
Yeah, my
Okay.
adoptive father. So he was there as a dentist, but the United Methodist Church sent them there. So they learned Hindi and went to India. And so they were working there with all the missionaries, and they received word that there was going to be a Canadian baby being born in a couple months. And basically the family is sniffing around to see if anyone will take the kid, basically.
That
And
was
my
you.
parents, right. My parents were already pegged as suckers because the year before they adopted my sister Shireen, who was in an ashram that my mom was volunteering in their town.
She is Indian, right?
Yes, she is.
Okay.
And we don't know a lot about her background, although I'm more curious than she is, just because I find it really interesting. So my dad used to tell the story, if no one else will take the baby, we'll take the baby. You know, if nobody wants it, you know, I'm like, what am I, a dog, you know, a puppy? Oh, but they took me. If I was a boy, they were going to name me Todd. So sometimes if I was a different person, I would probably go by Todd.
Todd Naked.
Yeah, right?
I don't like the ring of that. I
Okay,
like Biff better, but
I know.
that's okay.
Well, and Biff is my nickname.
Yes.
So my parents named me Beth when they got me at the hospital 6 days after I was born. Unbeknownst to them, my birth mom named me Elizabeth,
Wow.
and they never knew that.
Which is pretty much the same name.
Yeah, very interesting. So my birth mom went on with her life and had 2 other kids. And on my 21st birthday, my parents flew me to meet her for the first time. And that was an incredible experience. I was really close with my family growing up. I'm super square. My parents were super square. I had older sister, younger sister, easy peasy, you know. All the normal things that any North American family has growing up. Except we all had a little Ravi Shankar and Ganesh thrown in, but really churchy, you know, white.
But you moved a lot too, which can't be easy on a kid because one minute you're in Manitoba, the next minute you're in
That's
Kentucky,
right.
and then you're back in Manitoba.
That's right.
How tough was that for you as a kid, constantly moving? Because you're always going to be the new kid in school.
Yes.
You're always going to be having to adapt. You're always going to have to say goodbye to good friends
That's
and then
right.
meet new people. What
Oh,
was that
yeah.
like for you?
Well, it was traumatic, I can say, probably for both of my sisters. My older sister and younger sister really didn't appreciate that with my dad. He was a professor, and just, you know, his contract would run out and he would take a different job in a different college somewhere else. Me, loved it, loved it, loved
Seriously?
it. Loved it. Thrive. Thrive is what my middle name
So
is.
while a lot of people don't like
I
change,
loved
you
it.
embrace it.
I loved it. And, you know, I don't know why I'm that way. I was the class clown, gregarious, chatty Cathy, never shut up, you know, loved it. I just always had a great time. And I think really it probably, there's kind of, it's how I'm built, but it also prepared me for being a touring, working person in the performing arts. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm a Gemini. Maybe it's because I was like, I don't know, into Reader's Theater when I was 12. I don't know why. But for me, it was great, fantastic, loved it. Loved it.
Growing up in a family that is so religious, my wife's the daughter of a minister. So when you have that in many ways forced down your throat as a
Yes.
kid, you try to find ways to maybe rebel a little bit or go against it. Was that a big part of your childhood? I know you got into trouble quite a bit.
Yes, I did.
But I think about it, and after reading your book, I look at the trouble you went through, and I'm thinking, I don't think she was a bad kid. I think some of it was out of being maybe naive, and another part of it was trying to defend yourself from a lot of the flack that you had to take as a kid.
Well, I think that all kids probably have to take flack. You know, when we were in school, There was no real bullying prevention stuff.
No.
Everybody was bullied. I can think of the grade 9 girls, horking greenies on the back of our heads. We had to soldier on. And same goes for any, young girls who were, gangbanged at the makeout parties or anything like that. You had to just pick up your reputation and carry on. There was no trauma work. There was no therapy. You didn't talk about it. And, in psychology, basically, you can go one of two ways. You can become absolutely, even more provocative and friendly, or you can, be traumatized. And I mean, there's, of course, it's on quite a scale. But for me, I think that I didn't have an option. I didn't know I had an option. Maybe that's more accurate. But yeah, adaptive kid, and being in a religious home, even though I just didn't want to wake up and go to church anymore from the age of 15 on, neither did my sisters. I think now I'm so much the sum of both my parents. My grandfather was a minister, and although I wasn't into his fire and brimstone preaching from South Dakota, I wasn't exposed to it that often. My parents were both academics, and my dad was a real theologian. And I loved theology. I always did. So I loved it all. If I wanted to piss my parents off, I would start, telling them why the Quran is better than the Bible, or start talking about, the Hebrew Book of the Dead or the Tibetan Book of the Dead, or, just I had a voracious appetite for just learning about religion, faith, people, their resiliency. I don't know. It was like I'm a nerd.
Well, the thing is,
I'm a
though,
real nerd.
You're a nerd, but in many ways, I mean, people look at you, they hear your music, they look at your appearance, and they think she's just a badass. But you are a good student. You are a pretty intelligent woman, our kid, weren't you?
God bless you. I don't know. I think that I compartmentalized all my stuff. I think a lot of people do. I always say, save your rage for the stage. And really that was what wound up being my lyrics. The stage antics, I found a real brethren in punk rock bands, because you didn't have to be the best. You didn't have to be good looking. You didn't have to be able to sing very well, all these things. And it was a perfect fit. And I could,
you had to relate
I could yell
to the audience,
yes,
right?
Definitely.
So being the daughter of such a strict religious family, what was harder for them to accept? Our daughter's going to be a rock star? Our daughter's covered in tattoos? Or our daughter is now using the name Bif Naked? Did any of those three cause any problems with the family?
Never.
Really?
No, my parents were at a show that I played with a band called Jungle Milk, where Marcos Ameo Torres stood on a conga drum with his wiener hanging out in front of my father's face, yelling about El Salvador and the rights of the people. And my parents were like, right on, man. This is amazing.
And that's, I mean, you couldn't ask for a better situation then,
Yeah.
when you consider that a lot of families that are very strict and very religious, they wouldn't go for that. And you were able to...
they loved it. My mom was always my number one fan. My dad, I dare say he went to his grave really believing in his heart that I was a queer woman not living my true life, no matter what I said to him. And he would be like, our minister is a lesbian. You like all the same things. I think you, Dad, I just got married again. So I'm married to a man. Well, I'm just letting you, So my parents were always, they embraced all my lyrics, all my performances, anything I ever
That's
did,
wonderful.
tattoos.
Yeah.
And that was my parents. And, now living out here, I've been able to spend time with my birth mom, and it's the same. I mean, they've always known my job and whatnot, and it's really comfortable and fun. And, I'm really lucky. I have not taken a lot of flack. Now, if I got like FTW tattoos or like the black tear face tattoos, probably my mother would, she would probably, knowing her, she would say, are you sure that's what you want to do with your tattoo money? Like, literally, that's what she would ask me.
Music has become your career, but at a younger age, you were more for the theater and acting, weren't you? That was like, you wanted to be in the movies or on stage, didn't you?
Definitely. I thought I could be Eddie Murphy.
Yes.
That was it. Like, that was it for me. I really...
Was it just the red leather you had at this thing
yeah,
for?
It was everything. I just really thought that was... He was my favorite comedian. We never watched Saturday Night Live because we just didn't stay up that late. But once he started putting movies in theaters, I just thought, yeah, I wanted to go into comedy and be an actor, and that's what I studied in university. And really, I thought that was my path. When I got into a band, it was as a exercise in performing, really. And here I still am.
Was it Judas Priest in a concert you attended that kind of gave you that kind of, that almost calling that I think rock and roll might be my thing, maybe rather than acting?
Never. I still am waiting for my calling.
Come on.
No. So, well, the truth
'Cause
is,
you-
it was a guy. There was a guy. It was
Yes.
my first husband, Brett, he had dreadlocks and a mohawk, and they liked the Red Hot Chili Peppers and all these punk bands, Dead Kennedys, and I don't know. I just thought that I would try singing because they were the guys I liked were all in bands. I wanted to just hang out with them. I didn't know anybody, looked like that in my theater class, so I followed my heart, and I'm still stuck here. I've never gone back to school. I did do a couple films, and I don't want to give everything away in a book. They were clean films, by
Yes.
the way. Which is actually kind of stupid because I should have made money when there was money in it. But anyway, I had 2 dogs. I didn't like being on a film set. I didn't have a lot of support in my personal life, so it was just like the 18-hour days. It killed me. I couldn't do it. But we were able to fund our Warped Tour one summer from doing a movie, and I don't know. I think that in moving forward as a female who is in performing arts, who's kind of always kind of open to doing anything, probably I'll probably do more of it, just because I don't know. I mean, I look at Tina Turner. So she's rocking a miniskirt and her heels on tour at 75.
Yep.
Could this be my life? Well, I'm not playing in Vegas. Let's put it that way. So she's doing the Four Seasons tours, which is what I call it. That's not the tours I do.
No.
So hard to say, a little hard to say, but I've been lucky so far. So I keep thinking, why not?
A lot of times, younger people, and usually maybe once they finished high school and they're in college and they're deciding, okay, to succeed in what I want to do, I need to pack up and go to LA, or I need to go somewhere. You decide to run away from home with a friend and run to Toronto.
Yes.
It didn't last very long.
No.
But that experience and working your way from Manitoba to Toronto, hitchhiking, meeting people, and again, I don't want to give a lot of the details because they're all buy her book. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
How much of that experience, that trip to Toronto and running away from home, kind of molded you into what you were to become?
Well, I knew it was not my destiny. And back then they didn't call it human trafficking. When bad people, try and, pimp you out.
Sure.
It was just called bad people pimping you out. But I mean, we were very lucky that an adult stepped in and helped us survive that situation. I don't know. I think that being a person who chases dreams, which is what I was really doing, dragging my poor unsuspecting friend with me. Eventually, we did the same thing when I was in a band, and we flipped a coin to move to either Toronto or Vancouver. Vancouver won, and that's why the band moved there. Now, with the advent of the internet, a person can live in any town and make great music on their laptop or phone.
Sure.
And get a record deal.
Well,
and
I'm going to correct you in a slight bit. Anybody can make music. Not everybody can make great music.
Very true.
Right?
Yeah.
Great
But
musicians
anybody
can make great music.
Yeah, anyone can make
A
try
great
and make a
sounding
name for
quality
themselves. Yes.
music, but maybe not great quality
Yeah.
music as it is.
Absolutely.
So when you finally decide that music's your thing, let's face it, just saying, hey, I'm going to be a musician for a career and I'm going to sell all these albums and win all these awards is not a given. So when did you realize and discover that you had a little something different, something that could set you apart from all the others that were trying to make it?
I think that really now it's about resilience. And I think that it probably always is for a young artist or band. In 92, when I was in a band, all I wanted to do, and I have old diaries to prove it, was go to Europe. That was my dream in life. I just want to go in Europe and play. And it would be like halfway through my second tour there that I basically kind of looked up one moment and went, oh my God, like I'm here. And it's been so intense, stressful, hard that I think I've missed 2 years of just head down working so hard. Um, and doing the Tonight Show was another point in my life where I was like, speechless, meeting Jay Leno. Speechless. Now they don't have Jay Leno. But the fact that my dad got to watch that on television, I could have died happy. And when I went to Europe, I could have died happy. I could have stopped there and been happy. So everything is gravy for me in the world, and it always has been, because I just can't even believe that I can still manage not to have to go work at 7-Eleven or go back to university, which now nobody can afford. And do I really want to? Now it's not called mature students anymore, so there's no discount or anything.
No.
It's like it sucks. So it's like I can't believe that I can still do this.
As you said, these days with technology, people can put their music up on Spotify or whatever, hear it anywhere. But back in the day, hearing your song on the radio was a big deal. Do you remember where you were and the first time you heard your song being played on the radio?
I think it was probably college radio that played our early bands, and that there's nothing that matches it. The first time I heard a song of mine on real adult radio that they play in the grocery store was a track called My Whole Life off of the first record, and it was in Vancouver. And I remember we knew in advance what time they were going to play it.
Yes.
I don't know why
That's
we
something
knew that.
Well, you
I'm
just
sure
know
today
people, right?
They don't. I guess so. And I remember sitting with this little radio. I was sitting on the floor. We didn't have any furniture. And I was waiting to hear it. And I couldn't believe it. I cried. I cried listening to it. I loved it so much. It was such a cool experience. And even now, it's cool. It's really still always fun to hear your stuff on the radio.
Your tattoos are not just random. They're not just whatever. Every one of them is significant to you. It tells a story. Is there a tie-in between your life, the tattoos, and the lyrics you write?
Probably for a lot of the songs. Like I have a tattoo called that says Survivor. Here it is. And that was actually...
You have a lot when you lose track of where they all are, right?
I don't know where I have like 80 tattoos or something. And here's the other thing. All the tattoo artists make fun of me because a lot of them are old, and so the ink spreads, and I look like an old, like I'm in like some old man in jail, and I'm fine. I'm comfortable with that, actually. But Survivor...
they're old when they're like this as they're trying to do...
Oh, yeah. It's just so different now than it used to be, and the ink is different.
Sure.
And, but Survivor I got a long time ago, and it was way before breast cancer, way before anything. I felt I was already a survivor of just a million different things, whether it's, lifestyle, drug abuse, sex trauma, whatever it is. I always felt like I was a survivor no matter what. And a lot of the songs I enjoy writing are about, I'm going to make it, or I'm going to get over this, I'm going to get through it. And so I think in that way it ties in for sure.
You always stayed true to your music as well. You played the sound that you wanted to play. And you see so many artists that have gone on intending to do that, but as soon as they hit the studio, they meet a producer, they get a promoter, it's like, well, no, we'll have none of this. You need to be a pop star. Was there attempts from producers or management to change who Bif Naked was and turn you into more of a pop artist?
Oh, sure. All the time.
So how did you prevent that from happening?
I didn't. I absolutely didn't. And this is the lucky thing. The first record we ever made, there was a punk song on it, a rock song, a rap. I did a rap. There was just like, there were so many different styles of music on it. And I loved that because I listened to everything from, early Hank Williams to, GBH to Bryan Adams. I love music. I love all music.
My mama fall in love with India. The mongoose and a road to wall out on your front porch. Tear me from a growling tiger's mouth. Hey, from then on, I'm in love. Don't ask me how I am today. Don't want to talk about it. Don't ask me what.
Most records are whittled down, or at least back in the day they used to be, from 60 songs to 10. So there was a whole spectrum of things we were trying to do. I can definitely hear through the disc history, when I work with that guy, yeah, a lot of it's going to have those little things that sound like that guy.
Right. It's like, for example, anybody who works with Mutt Lange,
Right.
you know the sound.
Right.
That's the Mutt Lange
I
sound.
would like to work with Mutt Lange, by the way.
Just don't marry him. You're already married.
Photograph. No, sorry.
Right.
Yeah. No.
You know what the background vocals are going to sound lovely and layered if you work with Mutt Lange, right?
Exactly. But I mean, and that is true because a lot of producers do have a sound and you work with them because of that. But I think now more artists self-produce. And really, I've always been grateful to have worked with producers, which I call the adults in the room. You know, my job is always, first and foremost, a performer. Number two, because I'm a writer and I love poetry and flowery writing, it was perfect for lyric writing. But I'm not going to die on the cross on my lyrics if they're, not working for one of the grown-ups.
Well, you've had lyrics and names of songs that were, some would say, inappropriate for commercial radio.
Sure.
Did you have to fight it to say, you know what? The word fuck's in my song, and it's going to stay in my song.
Oh, yeah, and that was really hard. I remember we were offered a tour in Japan, and I think it was the Philippines and Indonesia, and we were blocked from doing that tour because my lyrics were impolite, was what the official letter said. It was impolite. Now I think the sky's the limit.
Sure.
And, I don't use a lot of swearing for effect, in my songs anyway. I like metaphors a lot, and it's just, language is cool. You can do just so many different things with it. And songwriting is technically easy because you're basically always writing about loss, heartbreak, or falling in love.
Sure.
Basically, that's about it. So the challenge is to write it differently, and to say it differently.